Okay, Math3430, here we are. And what I want to do this time is continue with the video I did last time, where we wrote this video on the left. It takes an input file, counts the number of times each word in the input file occurs, writes that to an output file. So the example was like this. This is the text on the left. So let's see, the file was called counts.txt. There it is. And it looks like that. And I pointed out that these words on the left are not in alphabetical order, so it'd be hard to find a word in the list if it was a big file. So let's try putting these in alphabetical order. Okay, so the words here are the keys to our dictionary, so we have to work with the keys to our dictionary. Okay, so let's comment this out. I'll comment it out. We don't want to run it, but let's leave it there for comparison. And what do we want to do? Well, okay, so I need the keys to the array, to the dictionary. So let's say KS keys is equal to counts dot keys. Okay, and if you do that, then as we've talked about previously, you get a dict view object, which doesn't have too many methods. I want to sort it into alphabetical order, so probably easier to convert it to a list. So let's make it into a list. And then if I run it, I get a list, and I can work with that with the many list methods. Not changing the dictionary while this is going on. So let's sort the keys, which is use the string method sort, which is a inline list method sort, which is a inline sort. So it just changes KS so that it's sorted. Yeah, now it's in alphabetical order. And now we want to run through the dictionary keys in KS and print the corresponding entry each time. So let's say for K and keys. Okay, well, let me take a format string similar to the last code. So an F string, we call it outline at the moment, an F string, F. Let's see, first field, I want K in a field of 10, is what I've got above, spaces, column, and then I'll do a second one, which is V, the value that goes with K, well, that's counts of K, and let's do that in right justified in 8 spaces. All right. Okay, and then I need to close the string with a quote, and then I can do outFile dot write outline, and then let's add a carriage return. Okay, that should do it. So let's see what happens. Okay, now if I look at the counts file, okay, now the words are in alphabetical order. Okay, well, that was a little not too impressive because the file was so short. Let's try it on a longer file. I have a longer file to use. Let's see, open It's called sampletext.txt, and it looks like that. And that's not nonsense. I'm informed by Google that it's Latin by Cicero from about 45 BCE, and I never studied Latin, so I can't read it. Of course, Cicero is one of the really first-rank Latin authors, so that's one reason why this would appear. So any Latin speakers out there are welcome to do a translation, or probably more likely is look it up in the works of Cicero, translated. Okay, so let's run it on this and see what happens. So the way I've got it, the name of the input file is hard-coded in the file, source code right there. I could, of course, use an input statement to have the user type in the name of the input file. That would make more sense, but let's just not worry about it. Okay, and then let's run it. Okay, the output is still called counts. Okay, there it is. And you see, I'm not entirely successful because right there, for example, this word is longer than the word column, so it bops that space, that number over, which is undesirable. So it looks like I need to leave more space for the words. 10, how about 15? Okay, so that works. And it's all alphabetized. So everybody's happy. Okay, well, one thing we talked about when we wrote this file was how to remove the punctuation. So we did this very simple string manipulation, run through the characters in S. If it's not a punctuation character, add it to new S. So new S, just is what you get when you leave at the end of that loop. It's what you get when you leave the punctuation out, and then you return the new string. That might be a bit slow. Python is of course not very swift because it's an interpreted language. What it's really good for is gluing together code written in libraries, written in C or Fortran or something faster, and optimized for speed. So there's two other methods I can think of with Python to remove the punctuation, and one is to use the filter command. So over here, let's demonstrate over here. So let's make a test string, apples, comma, oranges, comma, pears, period. Okay, we want to remove the punctuation. So the command I'm thinking of is filter, which takes an iterable. Let's look at the help for it. Return an iterator yielding those items of the iterable. This is the first parameter for which the function in here is true. If the function is none, return items that are true. Okay, so I need a little function that returns true if I get a non-punctuation character and false if I do. This is kind of a place for a one-off function, a lambda function. So let's say lambda, one line, short one-line function, no name, call the input parameter x, so that's going to be a character, and let's do the expression x not in, let's do a string dot punctuation. Okay, so that'll return true. That'll be true if the character is not in the punctuation. And then the argument we want to do is test string, and this is return something. Let's call it fi. So let's run that. And what is fi? Well, it's a filter object. So a better way to do it, look at it, would be a list, to convert it to a list. And it's a list of characters with omitting the punctuation characters. So we want to put those characters back into a string. So there's a way to do that using the string methods. Let's do outString equals, here's the method, let's do space, let's do nothing, empty string, dot join, and then fi. So join takes an iterable and joins, puts them all together, all the elements together in a string, one line, and this character that goes in front is the separator when it produces the string. It's kind of strange syntax, but they wanted to get it in the string class. So this is the character to put in between the elements of what you're joining together. And I said null character, so don't put anything in between. So nothing. Why was that? Oh, I know. I exhausted this iterable when I showed it to you. So I have to run this function again to get another iterable like that. Okay, now let's do this. Let's do this statement. So out string is apples, oranges, pears, and remove the punctuation. So we can do the same thing in the Python program. So over here, let's say define remove punct. Call it number 1. The first one was 0. And takes a string. So we do fi equals filter. Let me use that same lambda expression. Oops, forgot the L. Okay, and then let's apply it to the input string. And then the next thing let's do is we could join it together into a string. So new string equals empty string dot join fi, and then return the new string. Okay, so let's try it just to make sure it works. So remove punct 1 of what do I call it? Test string. Yeah, so it seems to work. So here we could just add a 1. And see what happens. So that's one way of doing it. And of course it'll work. We're looking at the long file. So there it is. And, you know, seemed to work okay. And the other method is really sneaky, using the translate function. So if you look up the translate function in the documentation, okay, so what that does is the function takes a table, which you have to make, and that table tells it how to take characters in your file, each kind of character in your file, and replace it by another file. And you have to make the table using make trans, and the format for that is the input character, you know, the characters that are going to be in the file, and the characters that are not what you want to change them to. And this is out of date. Let's try 3.8. Yeah, that's not it. I don't know. Anyway, so there's 3 elements. Let's go back to our function and put it in. I have to. This changed very recently with the version 3.8. So a lot of the documentation is off. So let's do that. Let's call it def remove punct 2 s. Okay, and then let's make the translation table to begin with outside that function, because I don't want to take the time to rebuild it every time. So let's do tab equals make trans. Well, let's see if it works. Make trans. Okay, input table, nothing, empty string. I'm not translating any of those. Output table, also the empty string. And the third thing is characters to ignore. So I put in string.punctuation. And so it should remove these characters from any string while not changing anything else. Okay, so let's see if that works. So all I have to say here is return translate tab S, I think. And let's see if that works. Make trans is not defined. Yeah, I think it's what module is it in? String.maketrans. I think they changed that too, which module it's in. Punctuation. Uation. Okay, so it's compiled anyway, or pre-translated. And then let's run it. It should have run. So let's look at the our output file counts. So there it is. Except that's a lie because I didn't change it here. Let's make this 2. Okay, let's see if that works. So that should be the same thing. Translates for stimulant objects doesn't apply to a dict object. Ugh. Well, let's see what happens. Maybe string. And let's just see if this works. So here we go. String has no object make trans. It didn't complain about that one. Translate is not defined. Well, that's pretty cheap. Let's look at the, let's try to look at the documentation again. Common string operations, Python docs, Python 3.8, translate. Maybe tell it it's a function. Program docs 3.9. Built-in file types. Comparisons. Now let's try here. Translate. String.translate. Built-in types. Okay. All right. So it should work. Except I tried this, I thought. Well, wait a minute. Let's go back to that table. String.table. I get it. They changed the syntax on me. Okay, so the way to do it is you take the string you want to translate, dot translate, and then the table, the translation table. Okay, like that. Okay, so let's see. It compiled okay. Counts.text. Didn't change the program. Yeah, I did remove punct 2. Okay, so it seems to work. Okay, so the question would be to compare the time those things take, those functions take, contribute to the program on a long file, which is what we're doing. I want to carry out the complete experiment, but you can get the time by going time, what is it called? Classwork 2.py, not defined. Anyway, there's a timing facility. Let me check on that and tell you how to do it next video. I don't want to, well, you don't watch me try to look it up. But anyway, there's a very simple built-in timing thing here. You can time different functions. So that would be a suggestion about what you can compare. Okay, so what I want you guys to do is to write a file. I'll type up an assignment sheet for this, but let me describe it verbally. What I want you to do is do an index. I want you to run through the file and record the lines, there are more than one, in which that word, a given word occurs. So every time you see a word, you add the number of the line to your list. So it's going to be a dictionary with the words as the keys, and the line would be something like make it a list of the line numbers that have that you found where that word occurs, and you say, where are the line numbers? How do I know what the line numbers are? Well, you're reading this function, this text, a line at a time. So you can count the number of lines you read in, and so even though there are no line numbers in the file, you can determine which line you're on and put it in, and then make an output file of that. And I have an example of what I got. You can make it fancier if you want. So let's do open. I think I called it something about index. Document index. And why did that open? It's here someplace. Okay, that's the program. And the out file is myindex.txt. You don't want to look at this, though. I don't want you to copy that. File. I know, you can rewind the video and pause it. Don't do that. Come on. Okay. So A, presumably a Latin word, like it's an English word, occurred on the following lines, twice on the line 20, and so on. So it would be good to probably fix that repetition, and you might do a last iteration of the program where you try and fix that repetition. And then I got this all to, I did, the lines are shorter than, it wraps around before you hit the end of the editor page, so it looks better. And I did that by using the module text wrap. So use the function from the module text wrap, and you can do that easily. And so you can look, I want you to look that up. I'll put it in the my write-up sheet, and I'll put this sample file on the a link to the sample file on the list also. Okay, so that works pretty well, and that's what we wanted, and I'm going to stop now, and next video we'll try to do some object-oriented programming. So signing out.